Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back. As I'm a little bit off my usual pattern of having like the 80s and 90s throwback films being on a Monday or Tuesday, and horror being more of my Friday post. But recently, I did Something Wild last Friday, Suitable Flesh on Tuesday, and now I wanted to do another throwback non-horror title here. With one I've been wanting to revisit for a while, especially after seeing, I came across a video by Ashley Burton, a little reaction video. I'll put a link at the end of the video for hers on YouTube, which is always great to see when a person of a much younger generation actually takes to a film that I love, which is the 1991 film Lastory. Now, this is written and starring Steve Martin, and it also stars Victoria Tennent, who he was married to at the time, and Sarah Jessica Parker, Richard E. Grant, and Mary Lou Henner. What is this film about? Well, the synopsis for it is as follows. With the help of a talking freeway billboard, a wacky weatherman tries to win the heart of an English newspaper reporter who is struggling to make sense of the strange world of the early 1990s Los Angeles. So, yeah, a talking billboard. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but just go with it. But anyways, hopefully that strangeness of a talking billboard doesn't really turn you off. So I was initially, I was first introduced to this from a theater teacher of mine who, it's like not long after it hit home video, and it's kind of been a favorite of mine ever since. But I hadn't seen it in well over, 15 to 20 years. I think the reason why this film was brought to us in class was because of Steve Martin's writing. While much of the general dialogue can be, a bit standard, as is a storyline for the most part, he has a very poetic way of kind of narrating certain portions of the film. Really putting together some great statements about what's happening in the film in an interesting way, in a funny way, as well as some interesting takes on both, romance as well as life in general. So everything flows really, really well. It really feels natural, and it comes across, that way as well. And, while frequently bringing in this like deeper sense of meaning to certain scenes happening within the film or what a character is going through, with it coming across as more thought out and, more of like a poetic sounding spiel, as I said, which can catch you off guard in some ways, but in those ways are actually, pretty pleasant actually. So, you'd be going through, it's kind of standard, everything's cool, and then you just get like these words of life wisdom in a way kind of thrown at you. But some more about the story itself. So basically our lead, played by Steve Martin, is in a bit of a rut in some ways. His relationship is obviously toxic in a way, which, Mary Lou Henner plays just in excellent fashion. She really comes across a great way in this. And his job is kind of boring and getting to be just kind of like that same old. And, in walks this, English journalist, at like a lunch that he's at with friends, who's played by Victoria Tennent. And she just really catches his eye as he's kind of like showing her around town, showing her everything about LA, and they're getting to know each other. So during all of this, he's dealing with the feelings that he's having for her, while also getting involved with a woman who is way too young for him, played by Sarah Jessica Parker, as his initial relationship had fallen apart, and even now his job is kind of thrown into upheaval. Not only that, but this freeway billboard that was mentioned. It makes no sense, and, it's kind of a strange sign communicating with him about different things happening in his life. It's very hard to kind of explain, but just go with it. So needless to say, while this one, the main focus here is it's kind of like a romance in a way. It is also a comedy set against, like, as the title and synopsis says, LA in the early 90s. So with that, we get a lot of humor based around some LA stereotypes back in the day, which, and we also get a lot of cameos thrown in. I won't really list any of them because part of the humor is how random these cameos are of these characters showing up, these actors that we know from a lot of other work. Especially when it comes to a scene involving trying to secure a reservation at a very exclusive and rich and snotty kind of restaurant. So you just have to kind of go with it, check it out and see what I mean. Should this weird sounding romance about him getting to know Victoria Tennant's character sound interesting to you? Speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out my very quick little review here for Lastory from 1991, which at the time of this video is sadly only available via paid rental for $7, which, while I do love this film, that seems a tad high for a movie that's about 32 years old now. But it's worth checking out, so who knows, maybe $7 works for you, or maybe it'll hit another service. Luckily, a friend of mine came to my rescue with a digital code I used to watch this one, since I'd only had it on a very old DVD, which is actually one of the first DVDs that I purchased back in the 90s. Anyways, like I said, Lastory, really fun little romance, lots of comedy in it, some cool words of wisdom, very strange kind of setup, lots of LA kind of jokes and cameos in it. So thanks for coming by, and I will see you in the next one.